Welcome to the RP Show with me, Steve Johnson.
And me, the TBX Maniac.
Join us as we share hints, tips, and insights of how to live an awesome life with retinitis pigmentosa. Hello, welcome back everybody to another amazing episode of the RP Show. This week we have got something which I think is amazing, one of the best things we've ever talked about on the show. So you thought it would be a good idea to ride a bike completely unassisted with no tether, no pilot, just you controlling the bike all by yourself.
Oh yeah, going over the jumps, handling the corners and all that.
Meet Mike. Mike's on the move. He's breaking down solely so he can gear up.
Go to ride some BMX. I have a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. Have some fun. Causes you to lose your peripheral vision and then kind of works its way into your central vision.
And yet,
Or who's coming out with me?
Mike Tubiak is getting back on track.
I call myself the TBX Maniac.
Put your left foot up there,
All right.
legally blind, and doing something like this, it seems almost impossible to me.
He began losing his sight at age 14.
All right, here we go.
A husband and a dad from Naugatuck.
Okay, riders, random start.
Now 44, Mike's newest quest is an improbable road test.
Riders ready, watch the gate.
To him, the Trumbull BMX track looks something like this. He's legally blind, but Mike has a clear vision of the path he wants to take. And it's this one.
You have to be fearless. I like to push the limits of what I think my vision is capable of doing, and I never want to say can't. It's a matter of how can I do this. So I have been in the adaptive sports arena for a long time, doing marathons, half marathons. I've done Spartan races. I've done triathlons, and I'm a second degree black belt in Tungsten. This is really no different, except it's just a lot scarier.
How does Mike bike?
I can't even imagine doing what he's doing. This is unreal. It's so cool.
Aboard his GT Mach 1, he's developing a sixth sense for the twists ahead. He has no choice. For Mike, the learning curve is actually learning the curves.
There you go.
It's become a team sport. All age groups are involved, with racers and guides by his side. Mike's making a mental map of the 1,200-foot track.
I like to say it's like a computer. My eye sensor only is this small now. So my brain is only getting so much information. I can see the jumps, but they're coming at me so quick. My brain has to work a lot harder.
The race is on. Well, that's the idea. And seemingly, in Mike's case, you don't have to lead the pack to be a trailblazer.
He is more aggressive on the track. He's more confident. It's great to help him out.
Yeah, this is working. He's holding good lines and making the turns. So the next thing is just, progress a little bit more, pick up a little more speed as we go.
I'm gonna race. I want to actually take on the actual moto, as they call it, and could be on the track. In that moment out there, I'm not visually impaired. I'm not blind. I'm not low with vision. I'm with everybody else. I'm doing something that everybody else is doing. I think that's just cool, and I think it hopefully sends a message that you can do anything. It's all about having a proper mindset.
In Trumbull,
I had fun. That was a good jump.
Jim Altman, Fox 61.
To most blind people or visually impaired people, that is going to sound insane.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know you put a lot of thought into it, so talk us through your plan, because you didn't just go straight to the top of the biggest track you could find and go down. You've actually had quite a sensible and very well thought out plan for this, haven't you? In phases.
I broke it down into phases. First, let's see if this is even remotely possible. Because I reached out to my friend Mike Agnon and his son. His son is who I wanted to follow on the track. So here's my idea. Love the idea, but his concern was insurance and things like that at the track. Their home track is Trumbull BMX in Connecticut, Trumbull, Connecticut. And I reached out. I was like, let me reach out to Chris, the Gombos, the track operator. Let's make sure that's going to be okay. And his response was immediately, you know, that's awesome. Like, yeah, like, what do you need? Cones? Like, what can I help you to help? So boom, we were kind of off and running. I reached out to my friend Tom and said, hey, you want to go to the track? Like, and just do this? I asked Chris if I can go to the track on like a Sunday, which was Father's Day. That's where it all began. And I said, can I just go there with nobody around, just me and my friend Tom, and just see what happens? And he's like, mind you, this might be the second email and so that I've discussed with Chris, and this guy just barely knows me. And he's like, sure, I won't be able to be there, but here's the code to get into the track.
Wow.
So I got the gate code, all that stuff. So me and Tom, we head out and decide to do the first phase, which I was saying, how I break it down was phase one is, can I even feel comfortable doing this? The drop in
So
is
talk us
much,
through like when you very, very, very first sat on the bike
yeah.
and you first started pedaling, like, when was the last time you'd ridden a bike with no assistance, no co-pilot, as a blind person, quote unquote?
2010, 2011, I think so, maybe 2010. So, I mean, I was like probably 29, 30, somewhere around there. I think it's 29. So the idea of, you know, riding a BMX bike again, seemed seemed weird, So definitely emotional because even before I went to Father's Day to the BMX track, I decided because I wanted to just at least get on my bike, I went on my street here and just kind of, just rode, put a high vis vest on so, cars would see me. And I just rode up and kind of just up and back, up and down my street. And I started to get like emotional. Like I got back my
Wow.
driveway and I started like getting really emotional because I think it was like we don't we don't get opportunities to get things back with RP. Usually it's take, take, and take. Like we
Yeah,
lose
yeah.
things, we don't normally get them back. So I felt like I was getting something back to me that it was taken from me. So that's that was really cool.
I can actually relate because every time I go on a tandem, which is not very often, um, just the sensation of pedaling a bike and the breeze on your skin and the freedom of it, I always think, wow, it's been, I can go years and years, I can go 5, 10 years without sitting on a bike, and then suddenly I'm on a tandem, and it just
It's
brings
just
back
a
so many good memories, doesn't it, from your
right,
childhood
right.
and stuff
Yep.
like that. Because when you're young, it's your only mode of transport, isn't it, for the longest time?
Oh, in our generation, definitely also. Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that was like everybody had a bike. We all had and especially BMX bikes for me, it was like, my best friend had like a company called Red Line. He had a Red Line, and I was like, I wanted one. And I remember my parents got me one for Christmas. A really nice, I had like a '96, I think, GT Vertigo. So that's actually why when I bought my current bike, my race bike, my cruiser, I went with a GT because it was what reminded me of being young, and I'm a Mustang guy. I have my '68 Mustang in the garage, so I got a GT Mach 1 because it's actually decaled like an actual Ford Mustang.
No
So,
way.
so so it's got a little shifter pattern on the top of the top tube and all that stuff. So it was, they did actually intentionally decal it like the car. So I thought, well, that's a perfect combination, and it's bright neon yellow, so I can see it. So yeah, it just all made sense to me to be all nostalgic with it at the same time.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about getting back on the bike, literally. So talk us about like, your first lap, your process, how you set it up to follow somebody, what protocols you put in place. So, what was your first sort of, significant test?
Like I said, the first one was literally like I said when we got there, and I'm at the starting gate and looking down, and obviously with our is a lot with our vision is depth perception. So the drop in to me looked way higher than probably a regular person because it's cement, cement down, and then it kind of flattens out cement again.
It does
So
look really high. I've
so
stood
it
on the
looks,
top
yeah,
at
you
that
were there,
drop in,
and
and
yeah, and
it
it's
do, when you
like
stood there looking down, like the worse vision you've got, probably the worse it looks because you're like, wow, I can't even see the bottom of this thing. And because it's all the same color, there's not an obvious point where it starts to go back up. Not in my eye,
No,
anyway.
not unless you actually, like you said, not unless you actually write it and then you go,
Yeah.
okay, you know. All right, I'm here at BMX, Trumbull BMX here. Just getting the lay of the land. Tom and I are at the top of the starting line here. So I'm just trying to film to give myself an idea. Remember, this is a big ass curb here. And then there is, oh yeah, good idea. Tom put his watch on. I'm like, that's right. Okay. Yeah. So we're just gonna get the lay of the land. So down, right. I see down, right. Down, left. Back up. Another right. And finish. Okay. So is there like a thing? So I just remember having that feeling of being terrified and looking at my friend Tom, who's at the bottom of that ramp there at the drop end, and he's like, "You're fine." Yeah. Like, okay. And I was using him. He had an e-bike, and I was e-bike, and I was just, yeah. First lap, I was like, "I'll just follow you," and then we just real slow
So
and
talk us through the first drop in. So you sat at the top. What did you do? Did you just like trail the back brake to control your
yeah,
speed?
oh
What
yeah. In the beginning, yes, I would, before where I am now, but like, yeah, back then, yes, when I first started, it was like just easy. Yeah, just feel each
How did
step.
it feel?
Oh, it was great. It was like it's definitely freeing, like it's definitely like it's terrifying still. Like an adrenaline rush, kind of feeling, and you're like, oh my God, like, okay, here we are, and just I think I was just also so focused on just following Tom, following Tom and just taking it easy, not trying to go anything crazy. So that when I got at that end of that first lap, it was like, wow, that was scary, but yes, I could do this. Like, let's go back around and let's go back down again. And then it's still that first drop in is still scary, but we just kept doing laps. And then after a while, it was like, by the end, I was more comfortable, so that was, first, phase one. Okay, now we've crossed that off the list. I can go forward now with my next phases, of if it, which is I wanted to do, ride in a pack. I wanted to get used to being around more people and, while I'm on the track, I wanted to get faster, I wanted, and then I wanted to see the process. I wanted to be at a race, like not, like a practice race first, and then evolve into let's do a full race. So next phase kind of worked out funny magically because I bought, once I knew I could do this, I was like, all right, well, now I'm buying gear. So helmet, shirt, pants, the whole thing, and then let's go. Now I need to ride with a helmet on, like a proper helmet, because I figured the proper helmet is going to reduce what vision, whatever peripheral vision I have. So I need to ride again to see if do I feel comfortable riding with this, motocross helmet on, basically. And that was on 4th of July weekend, that I decided to do that. And once again, drop-in's terrifying. And, everything's terrifying still that first go. But once I do that first lap, all good. So, and I didn't want to leave there until I beat my time. I told Tom that. I said, last time when we first did this, it was 70 seconds. That's how long it took me, like a minute and 10 seconds. The guys who actually do BMX my age are like at 41 seconds for a lap. So I was like, all right, I want to get under a minute. Like, I'm not leaving until we get under a minute. So my last lap was literally like 59 seconds. And so it's like we always say, like to achieve a goal, you should break it, to achieve a big goal, you want to break it down to small little goals and get yourself up that ladder to get to that big
Only
one.
eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving into now new territory. Talk to us about the nighttime races and being under the lights, especially for people that might not put two and two together. What are some of the challenges for us and people like us with these big lights on? Because some people think that surely that makes it easier, right?
It's like a yes and a no because yeah, because you think I feel sometimes I see better without the sun when the sun's gone, and I get more just regular like the lighting, yeah, lighting with the track. This way it seems to be better on my vision. So yeah, like but at the same time, there's other stresses is that walking around that presented some challenges and just navigating around the track. I did walk into people, and something I have not mentioned yet, actually, some people might be wondering, like, how am I doing this other than using my, vision that I do have left, which is most tracks are cool and they put down like these high contrast triangles now at like at the top of each kind of the jumps and in the center. So now I have a center point. And then there is lines on each side of the track, two lanes, so I have three reference points. I know where I am on the all the way to the left. I know where I am all the way to the right, and I know center. So I know at any time I can get, be comfortable there. In the corners, they also do the same thing. Sometimes arrows or triangles, just so I have. Because if I get kind of paranoid being really high up on the berm because I don't want to fall off the track. Uh, so I like to have. I'll try to usually stick into the center. But at least if I know if I ride a little high, I got room. I know if I'm close to those arrows, I know I can go a little
Yeah,
higher. It's okay.
yeah.
But that's kind of what I've been doing through this whole process is just figuring out what works well for my eyesight, and applying, high contrast obviously because that's what works for a lot of us with
And what do you do about following a guide?
some yeah, now that I've gotten I find the more I actually like having the riders behind me actually now. I know
Oh,
because I get
okay.
paranoid with having people in front of me because it makes me paranoid that I'm going to hit them.
Yeah,
So having guide riders kind of one on my right and left, and if I have some in the beginning, I would do it that way. Before once I got comfortable, I didn't need guide riders anymore, um, and I would just kind of be one of the guys or be a regular racer. But when I'm doing practice laps, yeah, sometimes I like to go out with somebody, and we can and they could just see what I'm doing and just give me a little advice as I'm riding,
just
and
verbal prompts just to
yeah,
keep
verbal
you,
prompts,
yeah,
just
to help you
yeah,
like acclimate
good, looking
to the
good.
direction and yeah.
I
Cool.
mean, because that was something like, that even my friend Mike Agnon was telling other people, like, don't, because people are getting kind of, maybe overly, parenty, like more worried about me and stuff. And my friend Mike goes, just tell him where he's on the train. Just give him stuff. He'll correct. He's really good about correcting. As soon as you say something, he's really good about it. So yeah, like my friend Mike is just calm about it, which that's what you need. Like, and I'm sure you can relate. You need people who are, if you're having guides, you need people who have a calming presence. I met this guy, Michael Taylor, who's adamant about, being my teammate this coming season and actually helping me actually win races by
Wow.
teaming with him. He'll be my yeah, and he has that calming presence, and he was someone that helped me
Nice.
at Bethel when it was in the dark and and stuff like that, and overseeing me and warning me not to do certain things, which that's where my, another accident had occurred. I got lucky a lot that night.
Okay, so just to
Yeah.
summarize, you had a multi-phase plan. You
Yep.
started off with guide riders, then you added the decals and things on the track and little guiding points. Then you started to progress, build up your skills, build up your speed. The news got wind of it, so you featured on the news.
Yep.
Then you set the challenge of doing a few more tracks. You had to start the whole process again, learning a new track, new terrain, all the rest of it.
Yep.
Got your first couple of accidents
Yeah.
under the
Yeah.
belt,
Yep.
entered your first few official races, getting points on the board.
Yeah. I have
Um,
points.
so what's next? What can we expect in 2026? What is the big plan for Mike Tubiak BMX? To find out what happens next, you'll have to watch part 2, where Mike divulges his plan for 2026.